Hello guys and welcome back to Ollie's on the Ball. Just want to mention before recording this, before getting into the video, on the channel we have just hit 100 subscribers. It's been a long journey but finally got there, and thanks to everyone who has subscribed. Now if you're watching this and you're not subscribed like 90% of my viewers are, please subscribe, especially if you enjoy it, and I'll definitely be trying to post lots of other AFL videos. So this video is, what if the AFL had a reserves league? So like, how would the football structure change like how it is now? Like it's got AFL and then VFL, SANFL and WAFL the second tier, and then it's the PSL and QAFL. So how would it change? Now, I'm thinking there would be 3 tiers. Number 1's obviously AFL. Number 2 is AFL Reserves. So every AFL side has a reserve side. And then the 3rd tier would be like the best teams. So pretty much all the remaining teams in the VFL. And then like a team from the TSL, a couple from the WAFL, SANFL, and one from the NTFL. Or even just like an NT team. Okay, so tier number one would be AFL, but with like no effect on the AFL, even once Tassie come in and possibly NT. The only thing is, AFL list or AFL clubs would probably need top-up players to fill like the last, 10, 15 list spots so they can field 2 sides. That would be as reserves players only, so they can't play senior games, but they'll probably still train with the main group, so a bit like Category B rookie currently in the AFL. So yeah, not much change, only top-up players, which I think could be a good idea. Number 2, well, this is the big one, AFL Reserves. Teams would be every AFL team's reserve side, and example, Sandringham St Kilda's current VFL affiliate would be separate to St Kilda Reserves. So like in the SANFL, our Port Adelaide's reserve side is Port Adelaide Magpies, and they're like one of the oldest clubs in Australia. Port Adelaide Magpies would probably stay separate, and then there'll be Port Adelaide Power Reserves. Same with Peel Thunder in WA, and then there's also like Box Hill and stuff. Fixture would most likely be built of curtain, like half curtain raisers, but also games at AFL sides, training venues. So, for example, in Melbourne, original venues like Arden Street, Moorabbin, VJ Whitten Oval, like all those sort of grounds, Victoria Park, that host AFLW, they would probably host AFL Reserves. So, for example, the round 10 AFL fixture, this is what the reserves fixture could look like compared to it. Gold Coast Reserves v Geelong Reserves, 3:45pm TIO Stadium Thursday. Sydney Reserves v Carlton Reserves, 12pm Tramway Oval Friday. Collingwood Reserves v Adelaide Reserves, 10:05am MCG Saturday. GWS Reserves v Western Bulldogs Reserves, 1pm NG Stadium Saturday. St Kilda Reserves v Fremantle Reserves, 2pm Moorabbin Saturday. Brisbane Reserves v Richmond Reserves, 3:30pm Gabba Saturday. Then Essendon Reserves v North Melbourne Reserves, 11am Windy Hill Sunday. Port Adelaide Reserves v Hawthorn Reserves, 11am Sunday Adelaide Oval. And then West Coast v Melbourne, 2:30pm Optus Stadium. Now the 3rd tier is really where things like change in the structure. So I'm calling it the national 2nd tier. Teams in the East Conference, so I'm having 2 conferences because you don't want East Fremantle travelling to play Aspley. So we've got Port Melbourne, Coburg, Frankston, Box Hill, Werribee, Southport, Williamstown, North Bullen. So they're all currently in the VFL, but aren't either aren't affiliated to an AFL club or aren't affiliated to everyone. Then we've got Canberra Demons, who used to play in the NEAFL, NT Thunder as a Northern Territory team, Kingborough from the TSL because they were champions, and Aspley from the Quaffle because they were champions. And then the West Conference is made out of the top couple of teams from the Waffle and Sandful. So we've got East Fremantle, Glenelg, Norwood, Sturt, Central District, Subiaco, East Perth and Claremont. Now what happens with the rest? Now this is where it gets quite confusing because, for example, in Queensland, the Quaffle and multiple teams and other comps might have to merge, but Quaffle's probably the best scenario given. I think the only team they're losing is Aspley. Whereas VFL, well, they've got no teams left, so then some teams from the Victorian Amateur Football Association and Vic Country Associations might have to go into the VFL to make the VFL. And then the Adelaide Footy League and Sandful might have to merge, given the Sandful only has about 5 teams left after Adelaide leaving because it was their reserve side, and then some others leaving. And then Waffle might have to merge with the Perth Football League because Waffle's missing teams after West Coast leaving and others leaving to the national second tier. And then Northwest Football League and SFL might have to merge to create a state league. See, Tasmania is a bit of an interesting one because there's a VFL team coming in next year in 2025. The Tasmanian State League is finishing, and now I think they're having 2 divisions in the south, combining the SFL and TSL south teams, and then they're having 2 divisions in the north, combining NWFL and TFA and the TSL north teams. So finally, the pros and cons of if this was to happen. All AFL sides would play together instead of being in 3 different leagues, reserve sides, so that's a bit easier. This is pros. If there is a late change in example in Perth, then you don't need to fly someone over. I'm just going to use the Saints as an example because I know lots of their players. So they're playing Fremantle and Perth, and Jack Hayes and Tom Campbell are both scheduled to play VFL in Melbourne. And then if Rowan Marshall gets injured in the warm-up or something, well then Saints have got no ruckman. But if St Kilda are playing earlier that day at Mineral Resources Park, or playing the Curtin Razor, then Tom Campbell and Jack Hayes are already over there, and then you don't need to fly someone over in late or just go without a ruckman. Structure of state leagues might have to change a bit because obviously clubs been taken out of leagues. Affiliation with clubs would have to end, so like Sandringham and St Kilda would have to end, and Box Hill and Hawthorn, Casey and Melbourne, Port Adelaide Magpies and Port Adelaide Power, Peel Thunder and Fremantle Dockers. The list goes on really. And then long travel distances, so I'm guessing the reserves team would travel with the senior team, like to Perth or Brisbane or anywhere really, because otherwise it would be hard to financially fund it. Thanks for watching Ollie's on the Ball. Make sure to like and subscribe and see you next time.